And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Pug Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
All right, guys, we're here with weighing in again. Just traveling the world all around. You've got a busy couple weeks coming up, right? You've got...
Oh, yeah, I'm good, though. It's actually slowing down a little bit for me. It's kind of good.
Yeah, we got... Well, you have... Are you going to Tel Aviv?
No, that's why it's... I get that show off. Chael wanted to go to Tel Aviv.
Wow,
so they gave him the Tel Aviv show, and I went, congratulations. Just watching him last night on the UFC broadcast just cracks me up.
What's it? Who?
Just crack. Chael.
Oh, Chael. Yeah. Yeah.
He's like the Teflon Don. I love him.
Yeah, Chael. I swear, I have learned to appreciate Chael and working side by side with him, and just learning how to. It took me a while to learn how to work next to him, and nothing against him, but it really was. It was a process. Like you had, if you're someone that works next to Chael, and even Jay, I think Jay kind of helped prepare me for this. You have no idea what's going to come out of their mouth. So when they kick it,
that's what makes him who he is, though. That's the best.
But when they kick it to you, it's like you better be on your toes, and if you're not on your toes, you're speechless. A lot of times you're left speechless. And
because you're just sitting there like, what did you just say?
Yeah. I wish most of you guys at home could see or hear our rehearsals. Our rehearsals are hilarious because the things that we come up with, because we're obviously not going to say a lot of the things that we say, but it's pretty funny that some of the stuff that we talk about and how the questions are asked and how quickly like Jay will stop and cut us off. Oh, that's great, but no one cares about your feelings. Like that kind of stuff. So it's fun. I think it's definitely one of those things where you've got to get used to working with both those guys. And I feel like I finally have started getting it down. I think there's a little more relaxation to it all. And I mean, you've commented a couple times, and I've had a couple of guys from the production team tell me that you've gotten a lot better, which is good. It makes me feel good to hear that from other people.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. There's a chemistry, and that chemistry is just starting to flow now.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. But you got to look at it. Okay, Randy Couture just had his heart attack, right? I go to you, say, hey, Josh, we're going to do videos for Randy. And so you and me, we talk, and we're kind of funny when we say, but, you kind of came from the heart. I called Chael, get over it. Because Chael, if there's one thing he's always done, he's always talked about Randy with very high regard. He's the one guy that I can't beat, all that good stuff. But I start to film him, and I think he's going to sit there and say, Randy, man, I heard, Bud, just get better or something like that. Nope. What does Chael do? Randy, if you're going to do this, go all the way. DNR. Do not resuscitate. Don't do this halfway. All the way. Just look at him like, dude, you're psycho.
Man.
He's funny as hell.
We were doing and so for some of you guys at home listening to this, we were doing the rehearsals and we did a tribute to Randy, because of the heart attack. It happened at Unbreakable at Jay's gym. And when we were doing it, Jay kicks it to Chael, and Chael goes, man, all these years I've known Randy, I swear, now that he's not in the spotlight for fighting, he just do anything for attention. Everyone just, and Jay obviously is like, wait, so you think he had a heart attack for more attention? Of course he did. But you could tell that they have such a good friendship and a good relationship.
The best part is that he told Jay, dude, you got to change the name of your gym to Breakable.
Yeah. Oh man, the stories we could tell. That's funny. You're not going to Thacker. You are going to Thackerville, but then you're not going to
Thackerville this week.
You're not doing Tel Aviv in London, so then I actually don't see you until Hawaii.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I get to see you on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. I hate to,
Come on.
Beautiful face. Okay, so look, I just got back from Hawaii, and we did something that.
It looked like you guys had a huge turnout for that thing.
We did. I was actually
too many.
No, well, we had, we actually capped it at 250. So they, we put the poster up while we were in Italy on a Thursday night, and by Friday morning we had over 100-something people sign up. And so the time change though had made it. It was like we posted it at like 2 or 3 in the morning here in the States, and so by the morning, there was like already 100. And so Rich and I looked at each other like, look, we're gonna have to do this in groups if we kept getting more and more. So within 2.5 days, we had 250. So we were like, look, we're gonna have to cap this off because this is our first one. We didn't want it to run shitty. We didn't want people walking out of there going like that was a joke. We put these guys through the gauntlet this weekend, and I got to tell you, and you and I were talking off before we even got on the started recording, but there was all walks of life on that. We had the men, we had the women, but we had big guys, small guys, big girls, smaller girls. You know what I mean? Like it was impressive to see, and also there was a couple diamonds in the rough that we were like, wow, you guys are good. Where are you guys from? No, we were just like we knew, and when you're on an island, right? Everyone talks. The buzz there, the ones that are good. But we had people that flew in. Some flew in from Guam. A couple, I want to say 1 or 2 flew in from the Philippines. We had one from Australia. Like we had some that came in just like, hey, this is my chance, my opportunity. And we even had one that came from the mainland. So it was kind of like, wow, this is the first one, and people were really dedicated to making sure that they were trying to get out there to be in front of us. And it was impressive. And I think the way that they were able to put it together there, and the support mechanisms that we had there, with Rich Chow being from kind of, being always a part of the Hawaiian culture.
The Hawaiian MMA scene, no doubt about it.
The Hawaiian MMA scene for sure. He's been around that, that scene for the longest time. But it was really fascinating. We had 2 guys, I would say, that were in the 300 plus pounds, and we had people that were as small as like 118, 115, 118, 120. So it was good. I was very impressed.
Good talent.
There was a lot of good talent. We had already, like Rich had said, look, I kind of already have a good idea of like people. There's the buzz on the island about these fighters, and so he kind of knew who was who already. But then we had a couple. I would say there was three or four that were not from there, but they had been training there, and the buzz hadn't quite got to everybody yet. And so when they started training, when we got to the grappling section of it all, you could tell how BJ Penn and Ali Malay and their grappling presence has had such an effect on what people from the islands are learning. So sure, they've been known to be boxers and heavy hitters and those kind of things, but man, their jiu-jitsu skills, a lot of them were very much on point. I was impressed. I was very impressed. And what I was thoroughly impressed by was we had a guy, he said he was 380, so he probably was 420. But we had we had a couple guys, big.
Oh, he's my weight class.
Big, yeah, pretty close, yeah. But he wasn't 75. So but we had guys that it was a 2.5 hour long workout, and not once did they like go to the bathroom to throw up, or did they say like, hey, can we stop? Can I get a water break? No one did that. And I was impressed because there was moments in the grappling section. Sure, they looked tired. They looked exhausted. And for a guy who's, let's just say 380, that's a lot of weight you're moving around. Plus another guy
that's a lot.
Who's, let's just say he's 300 or we had some guys that were, 320. We had some guys that were 270, 285, and they're all grappling together for a good 30 minutes straight. And we were doing like a rotate train kind of scenario situation. So you were getting a fresh guy every 30 seconds to a minute. Sometimes the matches went a minute, like sometimes they went like 15 minutes, 18 minutes. And then the guy who lost and the guy who won both had to come back in right away with somebody else. I matched them up, and it was like, wow, they never complained. Not one of them, from the guys to the girls, none of them complained.
But they went away going, that fucking Josh Thompson tried to kill us.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Because honestly, like for me, I always felt, and I've said this before, conditioning to me is the main factor when I'm looking at an athlete. When I'm looking at somebody is, hey, did you come in shape? That's one. 2 is, if you can't get yourself to do cardio, you're never going to be the best. If you can't come in and you can't perform and if you can't get yourself in shape, I can't rely on you to end up eventually being a world champion, because that's what's going to take. If you can't get past that mental barrier of, okay, I got to go run tonight, even though I'm tired, I still have to go run. That's the type of shit that makes champions. Not like, oh, I'm going to hit more mitts, or I'm going to shadow box more, or I'm going to kick the bat. I'm going to do all the cool shit, the fun shit, the sparring. That stuff, sure, it's great. But if you're not in shape, it doesn't mean anything, especially when you're talking about a 5-round fight for a title. Those are the things that I looked at. And when I saw all of those athletes there, Not one of them. They all looked exhausted, but they all still put on great performances. And I gotta tell you, the Hawaiians came out and they did an amazing job. I was impressed.
It's always good to hear, because one of the things you try to tell young fighters all the time is, hey, if you want this to be your job, then make it your job. That means that you're in the gym, you're always in shape, you're always ready to go. If someone calls last minute looking for a fighter, and that's the fight that's going to get you to the next level, and you're prepared for it, take it, because you know you're in shape. You don't have to worry. It's when you're not in shape that you go into a fight going, I got to end this fast. If I don't end this fast, I'm in trouble. And then you're already fighting an uphill battle. So it's good to hear that those guys are in shape, man, because that's not easy.
Nope.
When you're a big guy, you're rolling a lot. You know, you're moving a lot of weight. It takes a lot of energy. You're burning it.
Yeah, I had some friends that hit me up like a week before, and they're like, hey, man, I didn't realize signups would be cut off. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, and they're like, could you still get me? Is there a way I can still get in? And I'm talking about these. They're not super close with me, but I've seen them, but they played, in like they were drafted in like, for football, high level football, they were drafted in the NFL in the first round. And then they were like, yeah, I want to come out to the tryouts. I've been training. I have 2 amateur fights. I'm 2-0, 2 finished. I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, you know what? Let me see what I can do. Pulled some strings. Like, sure. Calls me back. He's like, hey, bro, can I, he's like, you guys have gloves there? He's like, I don't have any gloves. And I'm like, son, I just told him, I said, hey, I just got you a tryout for the Yankees. I'm like, and you don't have cleats. Figure it out. I was like, figure it out.
There you go.
I mean, you can't make people want to do it, and that's the thing. So when you're talking in that type of scenario in those situations, you gotta want to do it. People can only lead you there so much, and if you can't do the rest, then I'm sorry, man. Like, So I mean, he still came out. He was able to find and figure it all out, but he still needs a lot of work, and I mean, that's the process, though. This is the process of what needs to be. I really enjoyed what we're doing, and these were good things. These were eye-opening experiences, I think, for myself, Rich Chow, and all the ones that were there, Bellator evaluating the talent.
That's awesome. Because it's good to hear, and I think it's something that needs to be done in a lot of different places. Not so much maybe the mainland here, but Hawaii, that's great. I think going into places, England, Ireland, all of those.
Yeah.
We obviously have people in place to look at talent, but it's always good to put on those open workouts, because you'll always find that one guy. You watch him and you just know, this guy's got something special.
Yeah, you think about that, right? You think about that movie Invincible when Dick Vermeil had the tryouts for the Eagles, and and he found what's his name, Vince Papali, and you just think about, like, there's that one guy who, like, sure, he played ball a little bit in high school. Still kind of trains, never really dedicated too much time because he had bills, or he ended up having a daughter or a son, right out of high school, whatever the scenario situation was. But they were always good athletes, and they were good people, and they trained hard, and they loved it, but just life caught them, threw them a curveball, and they couldn't get to that next level. And I was using that same scenario when I was talking to ESPN Honolulu, and I was telling them, I said, hey, like, we're here because you never know the person that is like training at a gym that has all that. Let's say you train at Max Holloway's gym or Alimalay's gym, and you're training there and you're lost in the shuffle because all the media and the press goes to the more talented fighters, right? And the coaches, of course, lean that way as well, because that's where their bread is. That's where their bread's buttered.
It's where they're going to make more money
exactly. So the other ones, they kind of get like, just scraped over and left behind and just kind of forgotten. And so when they came out and we see these young talented guys, we're like, all right, you guys, some of you guys shouldn't even been here. We should have probably signed you guys, a year or two ago. That's how talented some of them were. Like, wow, this is impressive. Like, especially when I was watching them, the transitions from the stand up to the ground, I was impressed. And I think it's going to open the doors for more of these to come. And we'll see where and what cities we're going to hit, what countries we're going to hit. I think that without a doubt, and this is something though too that everyone talking about the Ultimate Fighter, but this is beyond that Ultimate Fighter situation. We're really coming into your backyard, and it's open to everyone. When the Ultimate Fighter does it, they do it in Vegas, and you got to come to them. What happens if you can't afford it? What happens if you can't make the trip? What happens if you can't? Go ahead. You look like.
Well, it's also what a lot of people don't understand, and it's not. I understand why. I'm not saying anything bad about it. But the Ultimate Fighter is also about what they call personality. And they'll take a guy that's a great fighter, and if he doesn't have the personality that they're looking for, he don't make it.
Yeah.
He doesn't make it on that show, and it's unfortunate. I've known quite a few guys that have been in that position. They're good fighters, and they just, they don't talk smack. They don't act like, a fool at times. It's just not who they are, and they're very quiet. And because they're quiet, they don't make the cut.
Yeah.
And I sat down with certain guys. I said, look, I know this isn't you. You have got to be outlandish. You got to be outspoken. You got to be bold. Right? He goes, okay.
Yeah.
He goes there and he doesn't do any of it. And he doesn't make it. And I go, what did I tell you? Right? He goes, I just can't do that. Right? Okay. It's all right, man. So it's nice. It's nice that personality isn't part of that. It's just your skill. That's a nice thing.
To touch on that story that you just told, I'll give you guys an example. In The Ultimate Fighter 1, Koscheck and Fitch and Bobby Southworth, all from AKA. Well, John Fitch was on that same roster.
There you go. Look who didn't make it. Look at the one guy, the best fighter out of all of them, who didn't make it.
He made it. Then they reviewed everything before they flied. He was actually at the airport about to get on the plane, and they called him and said, hey, we're not going to need you anymore. So I would imagine it came down to the personality at the very end, because if you recall, that first show I think was probably the best one they ever had.
And they had some personalities there. We went with Chris and Josh, and it was like, okay.
Yep.
But it's a big part. Personality was a big part of that show, and there's a lot of guys that may not have been the best fighters got on because they had outlandish personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, you got to tell me, when you were flying, I know in Hawaii and stuff like that, did you get to see 244? Did you get to see the bad motherfucker fight?
Yeah, I have it. I did. I saw the whole thing. Whole thing. And it's exactly, I got to just be honest, 100%, is exactly how I thought the fight would go until the 4th and 5th round. I thought had the fight gone on, and I had always thought that Nate was going to win the 4th and the 5th. I didn't think that he was going to get as cut up and hit as he did in the.
So that's what I was with my son watching, and before the thing, he says, "Who do you think is going to win?" I go, "Look, both can win." Mm-hmm. I go, the real thing I have a worry about, Nate cuts really easy, and Jorge is really good at being accurate. Yeah. And as soon as he starts to get a cut on him, anything, he lands a good, shot, a good elbow. I go, as soon as Nate's cut, he's just going to start just cutting him up, scissoring him up. And I said, I have this feeling, I don't know why, it's going to end up stopping on cuts. What does it stop on? Cuts.
Yep.
Too bad. I watched that, and it drives me crazy because referees many times, and this is nothing on Dan. Dan did nothing wrong. Absolutely zero. But people need to understand, ringside physicians, they're doctors, and many of them, and New York is crazy heavy in the ringside physician has a lot of power. And that's because of what occurred with Magomedov in boxing and the injury that he sustained, and they were sued, and there was all kinds of stuff. So the doctors, they're very doctor heavy. Guys get checked before. The referees have to actually have the doctor there when they're doing their rules briefings. It's just to the point of almost ridiculous in some ways. But, as the referee, I can't tell you how many times I controlled the ringside physician. I would have a guy that was cut, and they'd be going, I think we need to stop this. And all right, hold on. I want you to think about this. This is a big fight. Both these guys are fighting hard. Yes, he's cut. I see it. I know it's a good cut. These fans came here for this fight. Let's see if we can let him go another round, because let's see what happens. If it increases in any way, I'll stop the fight, bring him over to you.
Yeah.
Right? And you do these things to because that doctor wants to take care of the fighter. That's what they do. And so they're always going to look and say, and you can go and look. Tyson Fury had his championship fight, in Vegas, and you look at the cuts that were on him. He had a cut on the eyelid. That's always bad. Yeah. Okay. And then he had a huge one above it, and that fight went 12 rounds. John Jones, when he fought Alexander Gustafsson, I had the doctor telling me, we need to stop the fight. That fight didn't stop. Okay, and there's reasons why. And sometimes you've got to control that guy. Tell him, hey, we're here working together. I promise you I'm going to take care of him. I'll bring him over to you. And it's unfortunate it stopped. It's totally within the doctor's right. And Dan did nothing wrong. But I wish it would have been handled where someone was there saying, hey, let's think about this. Let's try to get him one more round if we can. Because, yes, he was cut. But those cuts are the kind of cuts that we say are good cuts. Cuts that are going up and down. Yeah. Those are problems. They're problems because they cross over multiple muscular structures. The ones that go like with the lines in my face, which are the ones that Nate had. He had one under the eye here and one over the eye here. Those are the ones that, for the most part, they're pretty good. Now, it can get so big, that it's a problem, but it's too bad that it stopped. But Masvidal did a fantastic job. He looked really good in that fight. He looked comfortable and in control for most of the fight. So, not saying the next round would have changed anything, but it was a good fight.
Yeah, you were talking about the cuts that go with the lines of your face, and I was trying to think of which lines. There's a bunch of wrinkles, and I can't really tell which line.
I tell people all the time. I go, take a look at me, man. I look like a Shar-Pei puppy, right? I got all these freaking wrinkles and stuff, but those wrinkles, you see that's the lines of the face. And when a cut is running in that direction, it's usually a cut that you can deal with. It's when it's running against it that we have the problems. That happens. But there was other good fights in there. I gotta hats off to Kevin Lee. What a performance against a guy who's a stud in Gregor Gillespie. Man, that kick, as soon as it touched him, I went, oh, he's out. Yeah, and he's just going back, end of the fence. Beautiful.
So
beautiful performance.
Yeah. I said this before, I think we're going to make a shirt that says that too, where I said this before. Look, I think he just needed to surround himself with someone that could put the combinations and the two things together. No one's ever questioned his talent. And I think it's always been with him as well, though, is the fight goes on, he tends to gas and conditioning, and it's the explosiveness. So we've seen that with explosive athletes before, and he's one of those guys. I thought it was going to be a tougher fight for him. He looked phenomenal. I thought he did everything he needed to do. But when you have a good coach and out of a good camp, I mean, not saying he wasn't out of a good camp before, but, he lost a lot. When he lost Robert Follis, he lost a lot. And I think it's hard for people to readapt, get acclimated to another coach. It's hard. And I think it seems like he found something there with Faraz Sahabi over there and TriStar. I was trying to think of the name for TriStar. And I think you see the way he is with his other fighters, from GSP to Rory to McDessie and all those other guys that have come out of that gym. You've seen how he is with those guys, and he cares, and he talks to them, I think, like they're adults, and they respect it. And I don't know, I just feel like I think the potential of him being there is going to up his game so much more.
Well, the one thing that we know about Faraz that I'll argue to the last word about this, he's a great game planner. Now, people may not like that. Because he may game plan for you to actually have what's people in the end look at as a boring fight. His job is to figure out the best way for you to win this fight. And he does a great job of that. You look at the game plan that Rory had when he fought Tyron Woodley, and all the things he did, and all that's game planning, and you look and you go, man, they scouted him. They knew where he was strong. They knew where he was weak. And if you watch the way that Kevin was in that fight, there was certain things he was doing. First off, his stance was not his normal stance. His stance was very wide so he wouldn't be taken down, but he also stayed in the pocket like he normally doesn't do. Kevin is a guy, when he starts to circle out, he starts to pull his head. He's very athletic, and he just kept his head in the pocket looking for those moments that he was going to either counter or attack. And he was taking some shots, but he was doing exactly what he was coached to do. And that's what led to that knockout kick. And so I was very impressed that the way he handled himself, the way he handled a guy that maybe some people don't know Gregor and how good he is, but his wrestling is
phenomenal.
Phenomenal. He's out of Edinburgh, man, and he is just a stud.
Yep.
And on top, he's a beast, and he's got a gas tank. And that was the one question mark in that fight is Gregor's got a real big gas tank, and Kevin doesn't. Yep. Kevin burns out fast. So if that fight started to go past that, minute, that
round and a half.
Sorry, first round and a half. Yeah, you were like, ugh. That ends up looking like a bad fight for Kevin if it goes to that point. So, they game planned it right, and he performed very well.
That's the other thing. Look, there's been times where my coaches told me, like, this is the game plan. We're going to follow the game plan. And I got in there and none of it. I did none of it. I did absolutely none of it. And the fight was
That's the worst
way
part about
harder.
being a coach.
The fight was way harder than it should have been. And some of those fights I ended up losing.
Yeah.
And I ended up losing. But the fact that he was able to implement the game plan, do exactly what he was supposed to do, the coach was that. I think that sets the standard for like, hey, at least you have a fighter that is coachable, and you have a fighter that is willing to take advice from someone that he barely knows. To be honest, like he knows, I'm sure, but like now he.
Nah, not enough.
Not enough.
All he knows is he's a good athlete now, and he's listening to me, but he'll get to know him, and then things will change and improve from that point.
I agree. I've talked about Kevin Lee in high regards all the time. I'm really impressed with all of his abilities, not just his abilities, but his power, his explosiveness, all the things that he can do. He just needs to up the fight IQ, and I think that comes from having a good coach that can help him do that. And I think he had that with Robert Follis. He lost it with Robert Follis, and then now that he's with Faraz, I think it's gonna elevate his fight IQ even more.
Looking forward to it because the guy's, as far as talent, man, he's talented, and he's young still.
Yeah, he is. Well, 27, right? I believe he's 27.
Is he 27 or is he 26?
No, I think he's 20. I think he just turned 27, or
he might have turned
27. Yeah,
he is young. He's got a lot left in the tank if he just does the right thing.
He hasn't even hit his prime yet. I think for MMA, your prime is 27 to 32, 33, somewhere in there.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, you get the old man strength mixed with, the years of experience, and, man, he's talented. So I think the sky's the limit for him. I thought it was a great, dominant performance for him. I'd like to see how he progresses in the conditioning department later on after working with Faraz for a couple fights. Yeah. What else on that card impressed you?
Then let's switch it. When we talk about that old man strength and we talk about getting older, Stephen Thompson had one hell of a performance.
Yes, he did.
Just phenomenal. I actually thought Vicente Luque, he won the first round of that fight. And then Thompson just put it on him in the last round. You want to know what a 10-8 round? Go ahead and watch that round. That's a 10-8 round. In fact, you're texting me. I'm going, yep. And he hit him with everything. And you got the body shots that Luque took and the toughness that he showed, because at times you could see that he was hurting so bad. And not coming forward, not throwing, but just waiting. And you're going, man, I know you're dying right now. I know that sucks. And that kid is just a stud. He's going to be special. He already is. But Thompson definitely showed, he's still there.
Yeah.
He's got a style that, he's fun to watch. And when he gets uncorked and he starts throwing stuff, man, he's all over the place. And, he's just slipping punches just by a little bit at times. You're going, oh, if that would have touched. But he's always slipping them. So he got touched some, but, he showed a good chin.
Yeah, that fight I was a little concerned. I thought maybe potentially the ref could have stopped it somewhere in the middle of the third, or maybe like towards the beginning of the end of the second. There was some shots, and sometimes when you're talking about Luque, when there was times he was just covering up and taking the shots and not really throwing back. And then when he got pushed to the fence, he would do the same thing. Like Stephen Thompson was actually letting him off the hook.
Yep. Well, that was the problem. Stephen Thompson was backing off.
And I didn't understand.
So when you're the referee, and now you got a guy who's backing off of, he's taking away, he's not giving you that ability to stop that fight based upon you're stopping. And as the referee, you're going, you son of a bitch, God damn it, because you don't want this guy to take more abuse, and then he backs off, and you go, and you're looking for that moment that is going to be the right moment for you to stop it, and it just didn't occur for him. But just a gutty performance by Luque and a beautiful performance by Stephen Thompson, coming off of a rough loss in his last fight. He showed he does have a chin. He just got hit with a great shot by Anthony Pettis to put him out, but he really performed well, because I was wondering if he was starting to tail off in the speed department and the ability to avoid shots the way that he does. He still got it.
Yeah, he definitely has it. That's for sure. So no, he definitely has it. He still has the range. I like how he kept switching. I liked some of the spinning attacks that kept Luque at bay at the moments that he was starting to kind of gain ground and build. It seemed like he was kind of building a little bit of confidence. But then when Steven started hitting him with some good stuff, he kind of wilted back down a little bit. It was like, okay, and the fight just was taken to him. I wanted to ask you about that. Do you think that potentially he could have stopped the fight somewhere in that fight?
I actually had someone from the New York State Athletic Commission, texted me right after and said, "Hey, what did you think? Could he have stopped?" I said, and I'm being honest. I said, Keith Peterson is a really good referee, and he is, and he's one of those guys. A lot of people complain that he stops it too early, and it's like, no, he stops it at the right time. He sees things, he understands, and it was exactly what you're talking about. He's getting close, and you can see him coming in, and then Stephen Thompson backs off, and he's like, God dang it, and there's nothing you can do. There's those times when you want to come in and stop it, and you're almost there, and then the moment is just pulled right from you, and you can't do it. And overall, he could have jumped in at a certain point, but I didn't have a problem with him not.
I agree. I mean, I agree. I thought maybe there was moments in the third round where it should have been stopped, but like you were saying, Steven kept backing away, and that was kind of the for a ref, it's one of those shitty situations. But
it sucks.
You did bring up the Nevada, not Nevada, but New York State Athletic Commission, and I want to actually talk about them as well. But I want to talk more in terms of the stoppage of Nate Diaz. We had like a little glitch for when you were talking, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it for a second. So I feel like the commission, when the doctor stepped in and stopped the fight, it's a relatively new sport in New York. Do you think these are the things that they talk about? Like, look, we are still trying to make sure that no one gets seriously injured. And they always do. Most commissions do that. But do you think because it's really new in New York that they're still like, hey, we cannot have anything happen on our watch?
Oh, they don't want anything bad to happen. And the worst part for the New York State Athletic Commission is this. The sport was illegal there for so long because they were the remaining island, the last one. And when the sport was legalized there, they didn't have the ability to do any small shows. They don't do any small shows. Every show that goes in there is a big show. The smallest show they do there is basically the PFL, being in the Madison Square Garden. There's the theater, and then there's the Madison Square Garden Arena. And the theater is much smaller, and that's where the PFL puts their shows on. But it's a bigger show, and it's on TV, and it's got media behind it. And so every show they do has got tons of media, especially if it's the UFC, and then Bellator brings in a ton of media for them. So nothing they do, or they don't get any practice doing things time and time again, like a fighter needs to practice for the fight, like a referee needs to practice for what they do. The Athletic Commission doesn't get any of those times that, hey, we don't have anybody watching us. Every time they're doing something, a lot of people are there and watching, and that's why you're seeing these problems they have, because they haven't had enough time and experience to go through those things in smaller shows like you get in a lot of other states. So it's really unfair to them. The person that's running the Athletic Commission, the executive director there, is Kim Sumbler. And Kim she's outstanding, super smart, very conscientious as far as, bringing in the best officials she can, doing things right. She is outstanding. They couldn't have anybody there better for them.
Wow.
But she's trying to make sure that her inspectors, she can't be there for everything. And again, they had the weigh-in thing. That's what you wanted to talk. You wanted to clear Dan Cormier's name. With what Kelvin Gastelum did. And, you tell me, do you actually think they were cheating there?
I actually didn't see it, to be honest. I'm sorry.
You didn't see it? Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to pull it up and look at it. I don't want to speak on something that I didn't get a chance to see, but everyone was talking about it, and I didn't get a chance, an opportunity to take a look at it, but because I was flying during the time the weigh-ins were going and stuff like that down to Hawaii, and then I heard it was bad though.
Oh, there's no doubt he was cheating, dude. It's like, why do you have your why is your trainer like standing over trying to look at the scale? You can look at it in front.
Yeah.
You don't have to be behind him. What, do you want to see his ass?
Wow.
And I love Rafael Cordero. Hey, again, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. You got away with it. But it may come back to bite them in the butt because they're going to look into it and they're going to ask, people's opinion on stuff. And you can see there no doubt there's some contact there. And all it takes is just a touch to take a pound off.
Wow.
Why would a guy strip down naked to weigh in at 184, 2 pounds less than he had to weigh? Come on, man. I'm telling you, it ain't good.
Yeah, so do you think potentially there'll be some consequences for that or fines?
I do think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to take a look at it.
I talked to them again. I said, look, when you look at it, look and see what went wrong, and they're going to know what went wrong right away. The fact, why is the athletic trainer going behind the athlete? No one should be going behind the athlete. Yeah. That's dead zone. No one goes there. No one's around them. Now they're saying, well, good. Then the guys get to use the hoop of shame that the women use. They got that hoop that they put over them. Well, the guys are now going to be using the hoop of shame because they're going to make sure that nobody's around that fighter. And you got to figure out, okay, if that's what we have to do to make sure this never happens again, let's look at what happened. Say, yep, it happened. We were wrong. And this is how we're going to fix it, and let's move on. That's all you can do.
Speaking of Gastelum and then Darren Till, I got to tell you, I knew Darren Till was big for 170. I had no idea that he was that
He's huge for
big.
170. Yeah. He made Kelvin look small.
He was enormous compared to Kelvin. I thought for sure him and Kelvin would be about the same size because I've met Kelvin. Kelvin's like kind of a stocky guy, but he's not super tall. But
he's thick.
Yeah, he's thick. Darren Till is enormous. He was enormous.
He is.
And he looked phenomenal. I thought he fought a great fight. He fought good.
Fought a smart fight.
He definitely, I think, fought better at that weight class. I definitely think
he had gas. Why?
Calm down.
Go ahead and say it, Josh.
Down with the weight
I want to hear it.
Calm down with the weight.
Go and talk to me, baby. Let's talk about this just for a second. Tell me, why did he have gas?
Because he never wrestled before in his life, and he doesn't know how to cut weight. So when he gets to the weight
he stopped every takedown that freaking Kelvin Gastelum wanted. Why? Because he has gas.
Kelvin didn't commit to the takedowns. Look, not everyone cuts weight well, and not everyone can perform the next day. I mean, you have Khabib who cuts weight, does just fine, performs at a high level.
That's right.
You have some guys that can do it, and some guys can't. I think now knowing and seeing that his body size really is that big, because I mean he was fighting some of the other guys, but they were still, some of the 70 pounders are kind of tall, but they're skinnier. You could tell they're not as big as him when it comes to fight time. But at 185, he looked good. He looked good. He physically looked good, and performance-wise, I thought he looked good as well. I was impressed with. I thought he had a dominant performance. I thought it was a good fight, but I thought he should have won.
Okay, how did we get a 30-27 Till, a 29-28 Till, which I kind of agreed with,
yes,
and a 30-27 Kelvin Gastelum?
I have no idea.
What?
That's New York.
This is what you. Sometimes you just look and you go, "What are you giving credit for?" This is it's a crazy time sometimes when you're looking at what judges are giving credit for, and it's like, man, damage. Who's hurting who? Who's the guy that you don't want to be in this fight? Kind of tells you everything you need to know to a point. So, but the last one is the Johnny Walker and Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson not only beat up Johnny Walker, he beat up Kevin McDonald, the referee.
Can you tell me what this was all about?
As far as, I think Corey is in that position where he was feeling disrespected.
No respect from the UFC or from Johnny Walker?
No, from the UFC, for one. He felt that the UFC wanted Johnny Walker to beat him. And you got to look and say, the UFC doesn't care.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. They don't care. They don't care if you win. They don't care if he wins. They get to promote whoever does win. So it really doesn't matter to them. It's not like that, they're going to get more out of Johnny Walker than they're going to get out of you. They're not. It's you're using that and you're putting that in your head. Okay, you can do that. But if they're giving you fights, Corey was saying basically that he deserved a title shot against Jones. Okay. All right, let's say that you do. I'm not saying you don't. But if you do, and they're putting a guy who is lesser than you as far as rankings or anything like that against you, how is that they're trying to get you beat?
Yeah.
You got to look and say, if you go out and you perform, good things are going to happen for you. As easy as it gets, Jorge Masvidal, take a look at his record. It's not that great. All right. What's he doing lately? He's performing. He's going out there putting on performances, and guess what? When you do that, all these things start to happen for you. Randy Couture did not have the greatest record in the world. BJ Penn did not have the greatest record in the world. But when they were at certain times, they were the guy in that big fight no one could stop. They were the guy that ended up winning that fight, that always put them in that position where, hey, they could get those things they want. And all Corey needs to do is perform like he did against Johnny Walker, and all these things are going to come to you. All of them. And you deserve them. I like Corey Anderson. I think he's a good fighter. He's a tough fighter. But stop worrying about the promoter. Worry about what you do. You worry about what you do. You take care of your business. Good things are going to happen.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you. Imagine that. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit
Go
on
ahead.
this. Is that I don't think so much that they want Johnny Walker to beat him. Sure, I think in their mind, like, Johnny Walker is probably more marketable later on down the road for them. In the long term, they'll probably be able to make more money off of him in the long term, just based off the style of which he fights. That's one. Two is, the other thing is, like, I'll give you an example, John Fitch. I think he won like 7 or 8 in a row before he was given a title shot. And and there's guys that they win 2 or 3 and they're like already in the top 3. So that kind of shows a little favoritism too. And they do that. And that's their promotion. They do what the hell they want. But to think that like they don't want someone to win more than the other, to me is a little naive. I would say that
here, and this is why I tell you this. Long ago, I can tell you Dana was trying to pick, who is going to win fights, and he's never right, okay, because he can't be. He can't be, all right? And so he learned long ago, you know what? This is real fighting. Yeah. This is not the WWE. I cannot sit here and say who's going to win, and so I can't get into who I'm going to promote more. Obviously, in certain situations, he's going to promote the guy like, a Connor that talks so well. All right. When you get a guy that talks that well, he's easy for you to promote. When guys give you things like sometimes Nate Diaz, even though Dana for how long said he's not a needle mover.
Yeah, right.
Well, obviously he's a needle mover. They sold $6 million worth of tickets for that show. That was a $6 million gate. Guess who's a fucking needle mover? Yeah. Let's just be honest. It really wasn't a title fight. Yeah. You could put the belt there and all of that stuff. That's a non-title fight, and look at what it drew because of the people that were involved. Yeah. And so some guys help you in making it easy to promote. Some guys are not as easy to promote, but.
Well, being a crybaby and whining about that you're not getting the fights that you deserve, that's not easy to promote. So
that's not going to ever help you.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't just not help you, and that's the one thing I can say is it doesn't just help you. Doesn't help you with the promotion, but it also doesn't help you with fans. When you're the one whining about you don't get all the stuff that you deserve, those are things that just turns people off. Like, all right, I'm not, when that guy's fighting, I'm not gonna even watch. I don't even care. He's gonna grab the mic afterwards and complain about how he should be fighting for a title. You know, it just, those are the people that they sabotage themselves. You know, and we to touch on when you talk about Randy Couture, I was talking about BJ Penn and their records, and when we did the tryouts this last weekend for Bellator, I told all the fighters that were there because we did some grappling stuff, and some guys were taking they were playing it safe, and I said, look, we're not looking for someone to play it safe, and so when you see someone like Corey Anderson fighting, you want them to go hard and get after it, not play it safe. And those are the guys that have the best records. They're not always some of the guys that never played it safe, like BJ, Randy. They fought their asses off at all times. They were trying to get the finish. They were trying to get the work done. Those guys, they're not going to have the best records, but they're some of the guys that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. You know, no one's going to look back and be like, yeah, BJ was almost a 500 fighter. Randy Couture, he had lost 16, 7, 15 fights, 12 fights, whatever it is. You know, I've almost lost 10 fights. Like, people, every time I run into people on the streets, though, all they say is, dude, your second fight was fucking amazing. They don't even say oh man, they don't even talk about that I lost. They just say, dude, that fight was probably one of the best fights, if not the best fight I ever seen. That's all they talk about, you know. And so when you look back at people's career, like Muhammad Ali, and who had a lot of losses as well, I don't look back I just look back at the fights that he looked.
You don't even
phenomenal.
think about the losses.
No, you think about Chuck Liddell, same thing. Dan Henderson, same thing. We think about all the great moments they had, and so I think fighters, when you guys are playing, when they try to play it safe and think along those lines, in the long run, they're going to care about the ones that were the most exciting fights that got people up out of their seats while you were fighting. You know,
it's just like you're saying, Dan Henderson. Yep. If I say, pick one Dan Henderson fight, go.
Bisping.
Which one is
Bisping.
It? Bisping. Boom. Everyone just about, it's two fights, Bisping
Shogun
and Fedor.
Oh, Fedor.
Shogun's another one. Both, you could put Shogun in there, and those are the ones, he won all three of those. Doesn't matter what he lost. That's the one thing about MMA, though, that has changed people's minds, because boxing got into this model of, we've got to get a guy to make him 20-0. Then we can promote him as, he's undefeated, and then we'll see actually how good he is, because we're going to give him 20 cans. MMA never did that. MMA has been, hey, man, it's sink or swim. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys that are really good fighters have fought guys that are really good fighters earlier in their career. No one knew it at the time, but they have some losses to those guys, but they're good. There's been a couple of guys. We had one in Bellator, Joe Holmes, Ugly Man Joe. I love that. He's a good fighter, and his first fight was against a kid that's undefeated. That it was still a close fight. He lost, but I said, hey, this is going to be a good fighter. This kid's good. Yeah. And his next fight came out, performed well. You're going to have those, but that's the part of MMA. It's your performance. If you go out and perform and lose, no one's going to hold it against you. In fact, how many times have we seen Jason Jackson against Ed Ruth? How much do you think Jason Jackson lost on that fight? Nothing. In fact, it probably elevated him, because he had such a good fight against Ed, performed so well. Yeah, he got a loss on his record. That sucks. But Bellator says, dude, that was a great fight.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait to put this guy against this guy now. And so just go out and perform. You perform, that's going to get you where you want to be.
Exactly. Now, the last thing I want to talk about as far as this weekend's UFC fight with the BMF, I felt it to be, and maybe I'm being negative. It could be.
Come on.
Me. I felt that they should have done the belt differently. It should have looked different than what their normal belt should have been. Yeah. I think it was almost like
I like the black.
I did. See, I thought great idea.
It's cool. Look, I don't. And again, all right, here I'm being negative. I loved not the original UFC belt, but the one that Zuffa brought in that has been there forever. I love that belt. I think that belt was cool looking. It was classy. It was just as soon as you saw it, you knew that was the UFC championship belt. And I know they came out with a new one. I just don't like the new one. It just looks, I don't know. It's like, it's like modern architecture, I guess. I don't know. I guess you either like it or you don't. But that they copied it, and it should have been completely different.
It should have been completely different.
But it looked good. I like the 244 on it and things like that.
I liked it. It was like the black look and the dark. It was perfect idea, but just not that belt. The reason why I'm going with not liking it is because for the champions that do have the gold plated one or whatever it is, the gold version of one, now you're just saying that I have the same belt as that guy. It's just a different color. That's it. And it's like, but it's like that guy's not a champion. I'm the champion, man. I just felt like it should have been something else. I think it would have been awesome had it been like a titanium type belt, like that darker titanium look on the old style belt that said BMF. Like that would have been dope
or black with that old style belt. That's cool.
Yes, because now it's completely different, and it's maybe it's like, okay, look, we got rid of the old belt. And we replace it with the new one that we think is better. Now we're gonna give you guys this one. You guys, And it just, I think as if I was the champion, I'd have been like, wow, that's really just my belt, except it's a different color. That's all it is.
Yep.
And so that's my one.
Got different initials.
Hopefully that's my one.
Different initials on it.
Yeah, just my one negative thing I think for today. I'll probably. There'll probably be more. Never mind. I'll take it. But yeah, that was my last thing on the fights for this weekend. I thought it was a really good card. It was stacked. It was good. A lot of the guys performed really well. I'm very happy for Kevin Lee. He needed that, and I feel bad for Nate because I feel like he always knew that the third, fourth, and fifth he needed to get some wins, even though he didn't win the third. I think in the judges' cards. But the fourth and fifth, for sure, he needed to press the pace. He was starting to touch George a little bit more in that third round, but the power and the strength was always going to be his weakness against Masvidal. And the kicks also, and Masvidal with those body kicks were nasty. Those body kicks,
nasty. Come on, dude! A couple of those body kicks, I was like, oh, that hurt me all the way here.
Yep.
That was because you could see him just snapping that kick. He saw the opening, wham! He hit it. And I was like, "Oh, that hurt." Yep. Nate is just tough as hell.
He's a savage, man.
He is so tough, man. Yep. he's incredible. But
nothing but respect for both those guys, for both the fighters.
Yep. Yeah.
What else? What else was there that we needed to talk about?
Canelo.
Yes.
Did you watch?
Yes, I did.
Canelo and Kovalev.
Yes. How did you have it on the cards before he got the knockout?
I had Canelo winning.
Did you?
He was winning up to that point. Yeah, I had Kovalev winning the first couple of rounds, and then Canelo took over. There was one round, I think like about the 8th or 9th, I think I had Kovalev winning. And then from that point, Kovalev was, he was shooting that jab out, but he's not hitting a target. Yeah. He's hitting gloves. Yeah. He's hitting arms. That's not a scoreable target in boxing. So, yeah, he's punching, he's hitting something, but it's not hitting that target that I'm going to give him credit for. And just Canelo, it was evident from the beginning when Canelo started backing him up. And I thought going into the fight, no disrespect, I love Kovalev and have watched him for a long time, but I thought Andre Ward broke him.
Yeah.
And just that second fight that Andre had against him, you could just see it was gone, and that's what happens. All of a sudden, one fight will change who you are. Mm-hmm. And I said, if Kovalev is not moving forward, creating a pressure on Canelo, making him work hard, he has no chance. Yeah. Canelo will just piece him up, and I think that's really what he did. Because the last shots that he hit him with, they were clean, man. You take a look, what hurt him, and then what put him away, and it's. It was a nice performance by Canelo. You got to give him credit, man. Moving up. It's not easy to move up because the power transfers differently and your ability to accept how many blows. But Kovalev really wasn't able to hit Canelo with that many shots.
No, he was touching him, but not like anything that was really doing anything to make him move. Like you said, a lot of them were glancing the gloves. Excuse me. A lot of them were glancing the gloves, and they weren't glancing the gloves. They were hitting the gloves clean and not really hitting him. I agree.
Yep.
But the thing that always kind of has bugged me about Canelo, and I'm a huge Canelo fan, is that sometimes he comes in, he's very lackluster, and and just takes rounds off. Almost like he just doesn't throw anything. He thinks he's going to get the round because he throws 1 or 2 good shots and they land hard. But that bugs me because you don't know if you're giving away too many rounds. Had he not got the knockout, did you give away too many? For me, I could see the fight going the other way only because he wasn't active in a lot of those rounds that you're saying you gave him, probably because he landed the harder, cleaner shots, but he only landed 7 or 8 of them hard, clean.
Doesn't matter.
Versus the,
when you're scoring boxing and you're landing the cleaner, harder shots, and that guy is not, he's throwing things out, but they're not touching a scoring target. Yeah. You're not scoring.
Not all judges see it that way normally. just being honest. Just being honest. What was that? All in all, here's the thing, though. Where does Canelo go from here? Potentially Triple G. I would imagine they'll do a third fight. I just don't. You and I talked after Triple G's last fight. It was a tough fight for him. And I think you scored him losing the fight, actually. Am I right or am I wrong? Yeah, you had him losing the fight.
I had it even.
Even? So
I had it even at the end.
Okay, so even at the end.
And that was with him getting a 10-8 round in the first round on the knockdown. So I had Derevyanchenko or however I say his name, I had him winning more rounds.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean, realistically, where do you go? Canelo now is on the rise. I feel like he's finally found where he needs to be in his body, and his technique is just getting so much better here and there. His confidence obviously is growing through the roof. I would hate.
And there's a difference in age and speed now, man. Triple G showed in his last fight he's slowing down.
Yeah, for sure.
And as soon as you slow down, man, the wolves are there, man. They will just tear your body apart, and that's what happened in his last fight. And Canelo's the one that kind of wrote the script on, hey, he likes to go to the body, so go to the body on him. And I've watched Triple G's, for a long time, and I love him as a fighter. I know him. That's just not a good fight for him if they end up putting that fight back together.
Let me ask you this. You think there's a potential of Andre Ward coming out of retirement?
You know what? On that fight, I was like, man, if Andre Ward's going to come back out of retirement, but if I'm Canelo, I say, get the fuck out of here. You're retired.
But it's that money fight. I don't really see any other money fights for him. Like
for who?
For Canelo. Give me some other
What
guys.
Are you talking about? Hold on.
Who else?
Canelo is sitting on the second fight of a 10-fight contract with DAZN that pays him $35 million per fight. Why would I fight Andre Ward? If I'm Canelo, I'm not fighting that sumbitch. Okay? Ain't going to happen. Okay? Dude, get me somebody else. There are certain guys out there, when you watch them fight. Andre Ward just presents problems because he can fight everywhere. Yeah. He's not that guy, there's certain guys, Floyd does not fight usually well on the inside. All right. He lacks in certain areas when you're watching him. He, from the outside, just picks guys apart and then closes the space, gets a clinch, and allows the referee to come in. Now he separates, puts him back to the outside. Andre Ward beat the piss out of Kovalev fighting in a phone booth.
Yeah. And
he can do that. And then he beat guys like beat Chad with distance. He can just fight everywhere. He can fight any style at any distance, and he's effective. Yeah. And he's hard to hit. When you can't hit that target, it becomes a rough night when he's hitting you, and not a whole lot. Kovalev put him on his butt. He got him with a good shot.
Yeah.
But Andre's just got that one thing, inside him of he doesn't get mad in the fight. He doesn't get angry. The only time I ever saw him get angry was against Rodriguez, and they were fouling each other back and forth. But he just is like, all right, you got yours. I'm going to get mine. And he just waits, and then he unloads, and he gets it. And hasn't been beat since he was 14.
That's crazy.
There's a reason.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's good. Yeah, he definitely he can make you miss and then counter and hit you back. And that's one thing I was always thoroughly impressed. He's just right up here in Oakland, so he's right by us. And he used to spar with a couple of our guys from AKA. One of our guys was with Goose and Tudor, and it was Ricardo Cortez. And I used to be like kind of his strength conditioning coach kind of person that would work with him, and Wardies would come in and spar with him, and they would get into it every once in a while, like let's throw the gloves off kind of scenarios, but Ward was the guy who was obviously the superior boxer. Just touch. He's like, no, I'll get you next round. Don't worry, buddy. I get you. And he did every time. He got Ricardo's ass in the next couple of rounds. He's like, go ahead, say something to me. I'll get you the next couple of rounds. So, yeah, I agree. $35 million a fight. Sure, that sounds wonderful. But
why would I fight Andre Ward, man? It's like if I fight him and I get more, all right, maybe it goes up to I double up, I get 70. Okay, I'll fight.
I would imagine that would be a fight you could renegotiate outside that contract. If
probably
it would only help and benefit the zone. You know what I mean? So,
God, yeah.
So if you just to have someone like Andre Ward fight, maybe you just tell Andre Ward, like, hey, it's a one fight deal, whatever the scenario is, it's a one fight deal. Anyways, we're just spitting shit right now. We're just the hopes of a fight like that happening would be amazing. What was the other thing? I lied. I'm going to talk about the UFC also, but not so much about the fights. President Trump was at the fights. What's your take on the scenario? What's your take on, did you watch any of Dana's responses and anything like that? Did you see any of that?
No, I didn't see any.
Okay.
Didn't see any of his responses. Yeah. Don't care.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as this. Back when Zuffa came in, the first show that they held was at the Trump Taj Mahal, the Mark Edis Arena for UFC 30. Went back there for UFC 31. And Trump was there. He actually helped promote it. I mean, as far as, it's not like he was out there doing it, but he helped Zuffa. He helped them become successful. And I think Dana has always been a guy that, he's loyal to the fact that Trump helped him. And I don't give a damn if you like Trump or not. The fact that the president of the United States on that night was at Madison Square Garden watching MMA, that's pretty fucking cool. MMA, that you can sit there and say whatever you want. He could have been at the Canelo fight. No, he was not. He was watching MMA in the Garden over all the other sports that were available. That's a nice night for the sport of MMA, for the promotion of the UFC, all of that. Hats off to you.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I think it's like I said, like everyone's political beliefs aside, I agree with you 100%. It should have. This is amazing to have the sitting president right there. You have to understand how much goes into him being in an open arena like that, a stage setting like that, sitting cage side. How much work that has to be done.
Oh, it's security wise, it's great. And I did notice a couple times the Secret Service guys standing up during the fights, and I was like, okay, man, if I paid that seat $2,500, $5,000, whatever that seat is, and I had that Secret Service, dude, I'd be throwing stuff saying, sit your fucking ass down, man. I paid for this. I want to see. But
that's fun. Yeah, I mean, I think as a fan of the sport, it's huge, and for those guys, for all the athletes that got a chance to fight in front of him and leave a lasting impression, I thought it was huge as well.
Yeah.
And look, it's a memory that people were going to tell for the rest of their life. Their grandchildren will say, like, my great grandfather fought in front of one of the sitting presidents. Like, they went to my great grandfather's fight, or my grandfather's fight, or my dad's fight. That's fucking pretty damn cool, man. And here I am.
I like the fact he wasn't there just for the one fight.
UFC and
he was there.
Yeah.
For the fights.
Yep. So I mean, I'm still holding on to the original EA video game that I was in for Strikeforce and all the other UFC games that I've been in. So I can, when I have kids, I can show them those videos. You know what I mean? So I'd be like, hey, look, I was in a video. I was in a video game. I mean, it's obsolete and the consoles are gone, but fuck whatever. I was in it.
There are no consoles.
Yeah. So, but it'll be cool. There was some other stuff that I think I had sent over to you. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see.
Talk to me.
What was, let's see, we talked that. Was there any fights that stood out to you? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I thought, I tell you, Shane Burgos, you talk about a fight that could have been stopped.
Yeah.
that fight that he had, and I can't think of the guy's names, Argaman, whatever it is, that fight, and then the Edmund. Can't think of Edmund's last name. I can't say it right. Sharpazian, whatever. He's from California. He's actually putting Glendale Fight Club back on the map where Ronda Rousey used to train.
With the same coach? With the same coach?
No, not exactly the same coaches, but Brandon Tavares, he put Brandon Tavares to sleep.
Yeah, I saw that. With
that head kick, man. Brandon's, we all know Brandon's a tough guy. He's a gamer, and Edmund is that kid's going to be good. He's young and he's good, and he basically put everybody on notice. Hey, I'm for real. Not a whole lot of guys. I think I watched Brandon go 5 rounds with Adesanya. Mm-hmm. He couldn't put him away. So it's that was a telling fight, but I really like the that Burgos fight. Burgos just started hunting his opponent. You could see just the body structure and how he was going after him. I was like, man, he knows I've got this guy, and just beat down a very good fighter. And he's an impressive guy.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, I think outside of all those, like the only fight that I was Corey Anderson and the Johnny Walker fight. Those were the only two that I thought there just had to be a lot surrounding it, getting with all the media coming up to it, and a little bit of the, like we were talking about earlier with just the negative comments of like, you're not promoting me, you're not doing that. That, and then the standout performance. I thought ultimately the standout performance of the whole show was Kevin Lee. I think hands down Kevin Lee. And other than that, no, I think that's it. You've got Thackerville this weekend.
Yep.
Yes,
I do. Everyone should go to Thackerville.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been to Thackerville. Thank you. Who is what card is that?
That's going to be Bellator 233, and it's got the main event is John Salter against your guy, Castello Van Steenis. Yep. Yeah, that's a good fight. That's one of those ones. People do not give John Salter the credit he deserves. That dude on the ground is a monster.
Until he faced Lovato.
Everything's about levels, and you look and you go, there's only a couple guys that I've seen actually stay with Lovato on the ground. Lovato he's a savage when it comes to the ground. But Van Steenis is really good everywhere. He comes from the Musasi camp and got good stand up. But if you look, there's a couple of holes there. Chris Honeycutt, he exposed a couple of little things when he had his fight. Then Van Steenis came back and looked fantastic against Mike Shipman. But this is going to be a good fight, and Van Steenis can win it, but Salter can win it. And I always like those fights where I look and I go, man, each guy's got to implement their game plan and do it the right way. If they do, they're the guy that's going to walk with it.
I'm a big fan of Van Steenis. I like his fighting style, like the energy he brings. Very quiet, very humble, and just it's fun. But the thing is, Salter, I think, just is that little bit of a level above. I think it might be too soon for Van Steenis, especially just for the grappling department and something. Now, if he can take the fight to Salter and keep him on his heels and stuff the takedown, which I'm not sure he can do for the full 3 rounds. That's the problem. The thing that scares me the most, because if once he does get him down, he's gonna be able to do some work, I think, to Van Steenis. Van Steenis is someone that he'll chase a submission or whatever, but he doesn't always try to get back up to his feet. He'll chase the armbar, the triangles, but then he's okay with sitting down there as he kicks you back, waiting you kind of come back in. Now I'm gonna try to attack again. Get back to your maybe he'll focus more on getting back to his feet.
He is not going to be able to be on his back against Salter.
He doesn't want to be.
If he's on his back against Salter, bad things are happening. Simple.
Talk to me about who else on that card.
Well, as far as there are a couple fights that I'm looking for. You got both of the Fortune brothers. You got Tyree and Tyrell. Tyrell is going to be he's on the main card. Tyree is on the undercard. But Tyrell Fortune, he's the real deal, and he's fighting Azuna and Adwanyu. Damn it, and Yanwu. There you go, and Yanwu. So Anyanwu comes from the UFC, very heavy striker, big, heavy hands. Tyrell Fortune being a great wrestler, but a guy that now his hands are really good. He's training with Bader all the time. He's with Trevor Lally out of Arizona Combat Club. He's looking good.
Yeah.
And if he ends up winning this fight and makes this step, it's on to the big boys. He's reached that upper echelon of the heavyweights, which, as you say, there's always not there. It's hard to find that great heavyweight.
Yep.
But I think Tyrell he's one of those guys, and he's going to be tough to beat for anybody.
Yeah, I think you gotta take him up a little slow, because you don't. With the heavyweights, a knockout could happen at any time. You don't want to ruin them off the bat. But I feel like this is a good step up in competition for him, like you were saying. And if he gets through this and he has a dominant performance, there's no way you can hold him back any further. You gotta let him start fighting the bigger names, man. The Javi Ayalas, like those kind of guys. The Frank Mears and the.
He's 7-0 right now, so it's getting there.
We'll see. I mean, a dominant performance will send him to the Matt Mitrione and the Javi Ayala and the Frank Mir and that kind of fight. So those, you better be ready, buddy. Be careful what you wish for. But it's good. Yeah, we've got a couple of AKA guys on that card as well. We got Kyle Crutchmer.
Quite a few. Chuck Campbell,
yep.
Nobody knows about Chuck.
He's good.
How come nobody knows about Chuck?
Because he started really late in the sport. He's 35, 36 years old, I believe. I mean, somewhere around that age. But
he's a good athlete, man. And he's long.
Yep.
And he throws really good shots, man. He's good.
He's figuring out the game.
And then you got
He's figuring out the game. Yeah. He's putting it all together. What I like is he owns a gym in San Jose. It's actually in Sunnyvale, but he puts the work and the effort in. Like, he's like, look, we knew when he got signed to Bellator, we're like, they're probably not going to build you. You're 35 years old, 36 years, whatever. They're not going to try to make you a superstar. But he went out there and had dominant performances. ESPN had him on as one of the knockouts. Like, he had a phenomenal knee knockout in one of his fights.
His last fight
in San Jose. Yeah. And ESPN had on the top 10 highlights, and it was, I mean, that just catapulted him into our eyes as being, he's phenomenal and super nice guy, just unbelievably a nice guy.
Yeah. And then you got Kyle Crutchmer from Oklahoma State University as a wrestler. Yeah. I know he's a guy that you've worked out with.
Yeah, he's super explosive, hits a beautiful duck, nice double leg, but he's someone that's putting it all together, and he does really well. He's DC's kind of like boy, he's like kind of DC. The Duran Wynn and Kyle Crutchmer are like the ones that DC was very heavy on bringing over to AK when once he became champion. Like, hey, I want to get these guys.
He's got that OSU tattooed on his,
Yep.
He's tattooed in his heart like DC, so of course DC wants him over there.
Yeah. Yep. Outside of that, who else is Romero Cotton. He's on there as well.
Romero Cotton. Romero's got a tough fight.
Yeah.
Romero's a guy that super athletic, great wrestling, but I believe it was his first performance in Bellator. He muscled his way out of a lot of submissions. Because he's strong and he's a tough guy. He's going against a guy, if he gets caught early in a submission, he's in trouble. This guy is one of Lovato's students, and there's certain guys that transfer their jiu-jitsu over into MMA just better than other guys. And this guy transferred. He's got 3 losses, but he's got 2 losses off of injuries. Tore his shoulder out, had his arm drop out, they stopped the fight on him. Knee injury, stopped the fight on him. And so he's actually way better than what his record looks, because he's 3-3, but the guy's good.
Yeah.
And Romero's good, and Romero's 3-0 right now in his career, but Romero's the better athlete. He's got the better wrestling. This guy's got the better submission game. So Romero needs to figure out, where do I want to fight with this guy, because he's long. He's 6'4".
Wow.
Yes. And so in the stand-up, Romero's going to have to figure out, he's got to move his feet to get in and out of range and keep himself from getting hit. But it's an interesting fight too. Leslie Smith is fighting on it. That's another one. She's going against Arlene Blenko, and anytime Leslie Smith fights, she just keeps walking forward. And Blenko comes from a boxing background, and she likes to stand and bang. And so the only girls that have ever beaten her are the ones that are wrestlers that take her to the ground. The Julia Budd is, I think, got 2 wins. Last one was split decision.
Wow.
But Arlene Blenko is tough, and Leslie's tough, so that's going to be
a great fight.
Just a great fight. Yeah.
I love watching Leslie Smith fight.
So do I.
I'm gonna tell a quick story about Cotton. Romero Cotton came in, and I had never met him before. I was training at AKA, and I think I was getting ready for the Patricky fight. I think it was the Patricky fight. And I'm like, hey, man, nice to meet you. I could tell he was very green, no fights or whatever. I said, so when are you fighting? And I'd watched him train. He was tired. He was sitting out against the wall. It was between rounds. It was like we'd only done like 3 or 4 rounds. He's like, yeah, I'm fighting this weekend. I'm like, it was like, where? Like, where are you fighting? In your backyard? He was gassed out. And it was just funny. He's like, no, I'm fighting in Bellator. I was like, okay. I didn't know what to say. I was like, okay. And I talked to Bob. I was like, oh, no, he'll be fine. He's a real good wrestler, super athletic. He's just tired because it's been a long week. I was like, okay. But he did. He ended up getting the win. But it was just my first mindset. I said, Bob, he's like, yeah, he did get tired. But he pushed through. He fought through the fight.
Oh, he got tired.
Yeah, he was gassed in that fight is what he said. But
he was gassed in that fight.
And he really only had, 4 weeks for the fight. Some stuff had happened and like family stuff. And so he wasn't able to get out to AKA to do a full camp. And I felt he learned a lesson from that, and he's been phenomenal, I think, ever since. And I know that Bellator's high on him because I was talking just recently with Rich Chandler. Like, I like the improvements that we're seeing out of him in just 2 more fights after his debut, and the same thing for some of the other guys. Ed Ruth, same thing. I loved his improvements coming in. First fight, second fight, you're like, okay, look, we see improvements. That's what they want to see.
Yeah.
They want to see these things. So like when we did the fighter, we call it the Bellator skills tryouts or evaluations this last weekend or yesterday in Hawaii. We're looking for people that have the skills. You'll progress and you'll get better with confidence and wins and fights under your belt. So those are the things that they were looking for, and it's good to see that the guys that I've trained with before, getting their opportunity, their chance in a big show. So
one thing about Romero Cotton, people don't know this. Romero Cotton spent time in prison. Mm-hmm. All right, and this is something that's important because he got in trouble for beating his mom's boyfriend up because his mom's boyfriend attacked her. And I like Romero Cotton. Good for you, Romero, man. You know what?
Yes.
Way to protect your mama, because he actually went to college late because he was in prison because of he got sentenced and stuff. And sometimes life's not fair. Yeah. You do the right thing, life's not fair, but he's making the best of everything. He's a good guy. He's got a good backstory. I like him. And any guy that, beats the hell out of someone that touches your mama, you're okay in my book.
I can agree with you on that, my man. I can agree with you on that. All right, we're going to leave it at that. Hey, great. You leave tomorrow or Wednesday?
No, I leave Wednesday morning early.
It's like almost a home field game for you. You're so close.
Yeah, dude, it's a one-flighter.
Wow.
When I get what's called a one-flighter, man, life's good.
As Fish would say, no hops. I got a 1 hop right there. That's it. That's very nice.
That's it.
So, all right, guys. Well, hey, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Tune in on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on all of the forums, all the stuff. You guys go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also hit the thumbs up in the YouTube channel. That shares our videos to everyone that likes MMA. And we really like that because that's how we get a lot of our subscribers and people following our videos and our views up. So we truly appreciate it. You guys have been doing that. And we've seen our numbers rise. And we like that. We are very thankful for you guys. Also, if you
appreciate it.
Yes, we do appreciate it. Also, if you guys know anyone that does designs or anything like that, we're kind of looking for someone to design a potential shirt, whether any shirt you would like, and we can have a shirt company make it. And we would like to try and get shirts made for our Weighing In podcast. And you guys please send over your designs. We'll have Producer Dave post out a thing for fan questions as well as an email address for you guys to send your drawings into. Big John, anything?
No, man, all good.
All good. All right, guys. Well, hey, have safe travels, Big John, and we will see you.
Thanks, brother.
I will see you next week after the show.
I will talk to you soon.
All right, my man. Take you later. Bye.
All right, man. Later.